And let's bring in someone who's long called for Hockey Canada to be better and to do better. Our next guest says Hockey Canada is stuck in neutral or going in reverse instead of evolving. So can Hockey Canada regain the trust of the country? Let's find out. Joining me now is Brock McGillis, one of the first openly gay hockey professionals. He is a former Ontario Hockey League professional hockey player who had a 9-year career on the ice, and now he's an activist for equality in sports. Welcome, Brock, to Power Play. Thanks for joining us and taking the time. I want to start with Hockey Quebec, Ontario withdrawing these fees. What do you make of that? And what kind of message? It seems that so far Hockey Canada keeps saying that everything is fine. Are they not getting the message?
Hi, Joyce. Thank you for having me. They don't seem to grasp it. I fear that they have little to no comprehension of how Canadians feel, how governing bodies of different provinces feel, and how hockey people across the country and beyond feel.
So do you think that other hockey, provincial hockey bodies should follow suit? Because we heard Annie now saying, well, some of them are thinking about it, some of them don't want to yet. Why do you think they're hesitating?
I think there's a number of reasons. Backlash, future backlash, if these people remain in control. There's power dynamics at play within the sport of hockey that in the future, when players are being selected for different levels, for different tournaments, that their province will face backlash, and that they will, their players won't be looked at in the same light as players from other provinces. I think opportunity for people within the province to grow and move up within the Hockey Canada ranks. And I think there's people who adhere to the hockey norms who run provincial organizations the same way Hockey Canada. So the cultures aren't very different, unfortunately. And because of that, I think they are comfortable with the status quo because they adhere to it.
Despite all the noise that's out there, despite all this, the reporting, despite the comments from the Prime Minister, the Sports Minister, Pascal Saint-Onge, they continue to slam Hockey Canada's response, going as far as to call on the executives to step down. I mean, is that enough? Is that even realistic?
I think it's beyond realistic. I think as long as these people are in charge, I mean, they've spoken what's it been now, 4 months, 5 months about an action plan, and yet they've given no directive to any junior hockey team across the country. They've initiated nothing that I've seen. It's a lot of words and little action. So to me, they are not equipped, and from their answers and justifications of actions, even to the point of Andrea Skinner saying that sexual assault and sexual abuse exists outside the hockey culture. Well, that is essentially saying that we as a culture, well, yeah, but it exists elsewhere. It's a justification as opposed to saying, yes, we need to fix our culture. Yes, we need to be better because we influence Canadian culture. And if we can be better here, maybe we can influence others to be better. It's about leadership and the lack thereof that we've seen so far from them. I've spoken to Hockey Canada on a number of occasions and told them that I don't think their programming and their education is very solid, is very good, and is impactful. And we're seeing it through the fact that every year the boys' side of hockey has less and less people registering. They're unable to recruit and retain young boys to play the sport. And they just kind of go, yeah, well.
How do you think they should, build back trust? By the way, you were talking about the interim board chair, Andrea Skinner. We saw her on the screen testifying yesterday at the parliamentary committee. But so let me ask you, Brock, what do you think Hockey Canada can do right now to build back that trust?
I've been saying it since the get-go that they need to, well, I think first and foremost, they need new voices in there. I think at one point, Andrea said they couldn't find people that didn't have a bias against Hockey Canada to come and work with them, and it's not the case. They just are uncomfortable with people who have been critical of them. and they need to work with the people that they see as disruptors of the culture, and work with them to fix the culture. I mean, personally, I think we're at a point now where they've dug their heels in the sand and said, we're not moving, so it's time for somebody new to come in. And those people then have to work with the non-traditional hockey folks to evolve this culture. We need to humanize issues. We need education. We need proper reform for those who step out of line, and we need to look at barriers of entry. And I think looking at those 4 areas and putting together proper plans for it across the country. I mean, if you're going to spend upwards of, I estimate, close to $100,000 on a survey, then you should be able to spend money on proper education and programs to ensure that your sport is safe, that your sport is equitable, and that everyone feels good and empowered in your space.
And we obviously will be following this. Brock McGillis, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.